I'm going to call the City Council meeting for January 15th to order at 6:06. And today I want to take note that today is January 15th, and someone very famous was born on this day in 1929. Get a lollipop if you know who it is. It's Martin Luther King. So today is his birthday, 29 January 15th. So happy birthday, Martin. No, we're going to celebrate his birthday. Is it this Monday we get Martin Luther King Day off? We get a holiday?
I don't get it all.
None of us do. Okay, so let's stand up and pledge the allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, and justice for all. So the roll call is Hawkins Manuelian. Here. Mr. DeGolia. Councilmember Widmer. Vice Mayor Holland. Here. And I am here. So we have a very full agenda, and the first item on the agenda is a presentation by Michael Gallagher, the introduction. He's in Anthony. There you go. Michael,
Thank you, Council and Mayor. I would like to introduce you to Michael Gallagher. Michael joined us initially as a temporary employee from a firm that we've been using for about a year. And so he had an inside track. He still competed in our panel and our full recruitment. He's been now working with us for over 3 months. We've made him the offer in December and he officially started in January. We're fortunate to have Michael because he actually started his career as a school teacher. And so he started as an elementary and a middle school teacher. And so he knows how to deal with people of all types of backgrounds with a lot of energy. And that's what we need for our front desk. And so he's already been serving us in city clerk functions, supporting some city manager activities, and we're thrilled to have him. And we've seen some improvement, obviously, from, losing Francesca, who's a longtime tenured employee, to bringing Michael on. So we're happy to have him here.
Michael, welcome. Thank you.
Glad to be here. That's the type of speech we'd like to hear. All right.
Okay, our next item is introducing Emmy, our police department therapy dog. Who's going to take this?
I will do that, Mayor, if that's okay with you.
Yes, Chief, absolutely.
Sergeant Fong and Emmy. Good evening, Council. So some of you already met Emmy, and you see that she already has an official trading card and a sticker. I don't even have that yet. So that's what we think of Emmy. Just a real brief thing about our program. The Atherton Police Department Therapy Dog Program integrates specially trained dogs, Emmy, into law enforcement to support community engagement, mental health initiatives, and officer wellness. These therapy dogs, unlike our canine tracking dogs and for apprehension, but they provide emotional support for us. She visits schools, hospitals, community events to comfort individuals in distress or promote positive interactions between police and the community. And within the department, therapy dogs help reduce stress. I can attest to that. She wanders into my office once in a while and improve mental well-being of our officers and staff. The program fosters trust, enhances community relations, and underscores the department's commitment to holistic public service. And I can tell you she's been very well received. We couldn't have found a better handler in Sergeant Fong and his family who is here. It has to be the right match. And it was exactly the right match at the right time. John, like all of us, embraces community outreach. He's especially talented at it and is well received. So with that, Sergeant Fong, we will swear Emmy in. So if you would raise her right paw or yours. Yes. So I, Emmy, state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Are you paying attention, Emmy? And the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. And I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. And she's already agreed to work for biscuits.
Yes.
So with that,
Cute.
that is Emmy. Thank you so much for supporting this program.
Could you tell us how old she is?
She's almost 1 year old.
On the
10
card.
days. 10 days.
Oh, it's
she'll
on
be,
the
uh,
card?
Jump
through hula hoops.
She'll be 1 year old. So with that,
Sorry, I didn't.
thank
Oh,
you.
yes.
Thank
Got a whole
you,
bio.
Emmy. Welcome.
When does city council get an emotional support?
Love it. Okay. So our next presentation is from HIP Housing and come up and show us what you've got here.
Of course. Well, just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Great. That's a little tough to go after, but again, good evening, council. Hello, my name is Kevin Joyner, and I have a personal connection to Atherton as well as this council, as my boss, Laura Finucci, and I have worked very closely with Anthony Subert, clerk, as well as management analyst Christabel Mendoza on our AD project with you. Excuse me, I'm just going to raise it up a little bit. There we go.
That's perfect.
Thank you. So I'm also part of the community outreach specialist at HIP Housing. And tonight I'm here to share something fun with all of you. Since 1972, HIP Housing has been helping low-income San Mateo County residents to find and maintain affordable housing. We're listed in all 21 housing elements in San Mateo County, including yours, as a trusted, affordable housing partner. Last year, we worked with over 3,900 individuals and provided housing to over 750 low-income households throughout the county. In Atherton, during our 2023-2024 fiscal year, we served 26 residents through our properties and programs, including 10 individuals in our home sharing program, as well as 2 individuals in our new housing readiness program. On behalf of HIP Housing, I would like to thank the Honorable Mayor, as well as the members of the Atherton City Council, for your enduring support of our organization. As a symbol of our appreciation of your partnership, I am here tonight to present you with the HIP Housing 2025 calendar. So with that out of the way, here comes the fun part. So each year, we ask children from kindergartners to 5th graders in our county to draw what a home means to them. They usually, and with that, this year alone, we had over 500 calendar entries. Just want to show the calendar real
That's
fast.
great. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. That was a
Thank you. With these 500 calendar entries, we select 13 winners. 13, I know there's 12 months, but we choose 12 for the months and 1 for the cover. And I'm very happy I'm presenting it and on the committee of choosing who got to be on there because it was really hard this year. There was a lot of really great picks. Just wanted to make sure, just to get to it. I wanted to choose my favorite of this year, which was August. Just going to take a second to show everyone. We'll come back around. So this was done, this beautiful fish house was done by Alice in the 3rd grade. And she is quoted on, "My house is very cozy and calm. There is a lot of imagination and creativity in my house. That's why I drew a very imaginative house, and imaginative indeed. I mean, I wish I could draw a fish this well. I really do." So
People have a dinosaur on the roof. Is that what that is?
my other personal favorite is in December, the candy house. Yes. We hope you enjoy the calendar and that it serves as a beautiful reminder throughout the year of how important housing is to everyone in our county, especially our children. More information about HIP Housing's programs, as well as our calendar contest, can be found at our website at www.hiphousing.org. I really appreciate everything the council has done, and thank you so much for the time tonight.
so much for your presentation.
Okay.
Our next presenter is the Atherton Library for their annual report.
It's really nice to be following such uplifting presentations. So as soon as we have our slide deck ready. Okay, great. And should I just tell you when we're, okay, perfect. All right. Good evening, Mayor Elizabeth Lewis, City Council members and city staff. My name is Ginny Meese, and I'm the new Atherton Library Manager. And with me is Nick Hernandez, one of our librarians who you might know. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak tonight. I'm pleased to share the library's annual report for fiscal year 23-24. Next slide. San Mateo County Libraries is proud to offer services that ignite growth and strengthen our community. Next slide. First established as the County Free Library in 1912, the Library Joint Powers Authority was formed in 1999. This year marks the 25th anniversary of our JPA. Our service area covers 351 square miles, made up of our 11 member cities and unincorporated areas of the county. Each of our 13 libraries is part of a larger family offering worlds of discovery. Through innovative outreach and mobile services, enriching experiences are also delivered beyond the library facilities. Next slide. Our communities comprise a rich diversity of individuals that our services and collections embrace and support. Our talented staff and wonderful volunteers create a welcoming atmosphere that inspires community and includes all. Next slide. San Mateo County Libraries programs and collection are highly used. Some exciting statistics that you see displayed here include 1.7 million library visitors, up 16%, 2.4 million items circulated, which is a slight increase of 4%, and over 10,300 events. That's 36% more programs and events than we offered last year. Next slide. This year, our website visits increased by an impressive 51%, and Wi-Fi sessions were up by 14%. Our laptops and hotspots also continue to be heavily used and well-appreciated items by our community, both increasing by 40%. Next slide. And at the local level, Atherton Library had over 100,000 library visitors and circulated 125,000 items last fiscal year. As you can see, we have significantly increased our library visitors from last fiscal year by over 40,000. Our circulation has gone up by almost 25,000. Next slide. In Atherton, we saw almost 40,000 digital downloads this past fiscal year from our ebook and e-audiobook services. And in addition to hosting many enticing programs on site, our library champions are always heading out into our communities to engage with people at outreach events. Our program attendance at our libraries reached over 5,000, which is a huge leap from 22-23. Next slide. Well, thank you. Libraries uplift their communities, and in turn, communities work to uplift their libraries. Let me take you through some of our standout accomplishments this year. This year, we began the robust process to update our strategic plan. Working with local consultants, we held interviews and surveyed thousands of community members and key stakeholders online and in person at our libraries throughout the county. Our staff visited schools, laundromats, grocery stores, and housing events to engage the community in meaningful discussions. These insights will shape our new strategic plan, guiding us in meeting community needs more effectively, refining our services, and setting ambitious future goals. We are proud to say that members surveyed gave San Mateo County Libraries a 98% favorability rating. Next slide. Our wide range of tech services and wellness-centered programs, including computer access, weekly tech help, health and art programs, have become a favorite among older adults. Our libraries offer older adults the simple solace of a routine and provide a place of meaningful social interactions, helping prevent loneliness and enrich daily life. We're looking into ways to expand our programs in 24-25, and we'll have some exciting updates to share soon. And now I'm going to hand it over to Nick to talk about our literacy programs.
Okay. Good evening. We're proud to host many online and in-person English language programs to support learners. With English classes, conversation clubs, book clubs, and more, our libraries have reached thousands of determined community members seeking to learn and improve their language skills. We are also so grateful for our volunteers who drive these programs forward in collaboration with our staff. In Atherton, we host a weekly English conversation club where participants can practice their conversation skills and make new friends. We also host a weekly free English class taught by a certified English instructor. Next slide.
We're very, very proud of those accomplishments. So this year, we also opened a 24/7 library outpost at the Pacifica Sanchez Library. A first of its kind for San Mateo County libraries, this innovative service approach increases access to library materials. Featuring a lending machine with a curated collection of hundreds of books and media, this new library offering allows the community members to browse, check out items, pick up holds, and return items 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Plans are underway for additional library outposts to be installed throughout our service area. Next slide. Our libraries stay bustling with frequent creative and fun offerings for community members to experiment and play. We started 2024 off by hosting workshops on Adobe Acrobat, Illustrator, Lightroom, Photoshop, and more. Karaoke machines and board games for checkout also continue to thrill and delight our communities with endless entertainment. And the imaginative Makermobile, ever on the move, saw another successful year taking tech to the streets. Next slide. When serious storms bring the unexpected, our libraries are destinations for support. We provide a place for recharge, access to internet, and reach much needed resources. This year, we served as a community resource center following severe rain, winds, and power outages. In partnership with our member cities, the County Department of Emergency Services, Red Cross, and PG&E, we were able to extend evening hours. Our libraries offered a safe and reliable place for people to stay warm, access snacks and water, charge devices, and gather themselves to regroup during the storms. Next slide.
On that slide, what's in the emergency?
What's in the emergency kits? Great question. So the emergency kits were, I believe they were provided by our partners. And let's see.
That's what you can get back with me.
Yeah, let me get back to you because
Or
I
get
want to
back
be able
with
to give you.
George and he'll tell us.
Yeah, I want to be able to give you the accurate information because we have emergency kits at the library, but the ones that were provided out to the patrons, I'm not totally sure what was in those
All right,
kits.
well,
Yeah.
thank you, no problem.
Good question, though.
Our impressive library champions shined bright last year. They took advantage of every opportunity to better our community libraries, providing excellent customer service to our patrons. We're proud that 32% of our staff speak another language, including Spanish, Cantonese, Mandarin, Tagalog, Hindi, and Tongan. Our volunteers, Friends of the Libraries groups, and foundation give us critical support throughout the year. 500 volunteers contributed 25,000 hours to our success. Next slide. Our Atherton Library had many of its own exciting developments last year. I want to take a moment to highlight our Makerspace, which has grown with programs and new equipment and expanded drop-in sessions. In 2023-24, we had over 50 maker programs for children and adults. Our Makerspace equipment was booked 263 times, with 125 of them being unique users. And we had over 500 hours of active equipment use in our Makerspace, and we are continuing to expand our offerings for this year. So we have some really exciting things planned. And I'm going to hand it over to Nick now to share some of our programming highlights from last year.
Thank you. I think one of the wonderful things about, having such a beautiful library space is that, in some ways we've become a showcase. And so we get to pilot a lot of new programs here at the Atherton Library that get extended across the system. So we really do appreciate it. I just wanted to highlight some of the main adult services accomplishments from the last fiscal year. Our Joy of Drawing classes are immensely popular with both seniors and younger adults. The 5-part course designed by Joy of Drawing is a perfect example of the environment of continuous learning we cultivate within our system. As the classes progressed, they build a sense of community in Atherton and forge relationships. The classes are well intended, and patrons clamored for a repeat of this series at many of our branches. We're building on this success this year with the Draw Together Silver Series. During the previous fiscal year, we piloted a gem painting program that's the perfect mixture of mosaic art and paint by numbers, but it's completely paintless. The program allowed patrons to relax, socialize, and promote mental health and wellness. The program is now offered at several San Mateo County Libraries locations. Yoga was another popular health and wellness program that launched the previous fiscal year and is now offered on a weekly basis along with Tai Chi. From musical performances and author talks to computer classes and tech help to everything from Medicare and fraud prevention, workshops, we offered a plethora of programs and services to the community we serve.
Okay, so I had a moment to think about the emergency kits, and you mean the emergency kits that we have in the library itself? So we have power, like chargers, we have lights, the lights that you can, set up and, solar charge them. We've got our emergency manual, and then we also have other first aid equipment. No. But I can give you a full inventory list too. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. So there's a video here, and I just want to thank you for giving us a chance to share about some of our most exciting accomplishments. We appreciate the strong support and partnership with the town, and thank you for working with us through another successful year. I'd like to share a short video that sums up the amazing year that we had. Yeah, of
Question
course.
before that. Are you working with our senior workforce? Because they keep saying they want to work with the library.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
don't, everything's happening now?
Yes, we have been connecting with Ken, and we've been meeting, and we have a lot of really exciting programs planned for this year. So actually, we just posted on our website our walking club, which came out of the many meetings that we've had with various members of the community. We've got a couple of workshops coming up. We have our Draw Together Silver series, which Nick talked about. So we are definitely looking at expanding our programs, and we are very grateful for your support.
Oh, is there going to be a kiosk or something where they can get information?
Yes, you are ahead of us. So we are going to have a dedicated space in the library when you first walk in, where the new books are. We're going to shuffle those over and make a dedicated space with not only materials, pamphlets, flyers, but also some related books as well. So we've worked on building up that collection, and then we've also are working on gathering some more resources. So now we just need to get some nice signage, and we'll have it all put together. So that's coming very, very soon.
Very good, thank
Thank you
you.
very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, thank
Hey, a little video.
Yes.
Yes?
I love the San Mateo County Library System because of the vast variety of programs and services that are offered, things that you'd never expect the library to offer. I love the library.
I love the library because it is a way for me to stay connected to my mom and dad who are deceased. My parents were both always avid readers and patrons of their local libraries. They raised my sisters and I to love reading and to respect and appreciate the services that a library provides to the community. This is one of the many special ways I like to stay connected with them. So thank you.
I really appreciate that you have a safe, warm place that I can just sit and read when I want to. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
I love the library because I find that I'm able to access books in such a special way, and I can find pretty much whatever book I want. And I always find something off my list that I want to read. I love the experience of reading books that have had a life well before me.
I like the library because you can use a makerspace to make 3D printing. You can use a Glowforge, and then you can do other things. I like that the staff is very kind and very helpful, so patient.
I love my library because they have wonderful bilingual resources, and I love the arts and crafts workshop.
I love my library because the staff are so friendly and helpful, and it's so pleasant to have people who want to help you find the books that you need or the ones that your children are interested in. So I'm so grateful for them. Lots of love.
We have the best library of any county in the United States. I love the San Mateo County Library System.
I really like that video because it shows some of our Atherton staff in it and some really nice
Yeah.
shots of the library. So I just want to say thank you again to city
I love
staff and
the San
council for
Mateo
your
County.
partnership with us and for championing the library. In particular, Councilmember Rick DeGolia and City Manager George Rodericks for your work on the Library JPA Governing Board and Operations Committee.
Thank you, Jenny, so much. Very nice presentation. I'm so happy that the library has been such a success. When we were building it and wanting it to be like it is, we never really imagined how it would blossom into what it is. It's become very, very popular, which is,
Especially on Tuesday, Thursday.
and and all of the programs that you're launching. So you know that it creates traffic, and but we love that people. Thank you. Anything, Rick? No? No?
I think
Okay.
just observing attendance checked out last year and this.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So, and now it's time for public comments. And just to remind you that, say again?
I said, we're finally there.
Oh, well, we had a lot of presentations. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Just to remind you that there's more information on the last page of your agenda pack that talks about the subject matter that can be addressed, and that if it's not kept to the subject matter on hand, then we can ask you to stop speaking. And also take a look at the rules of decorum. That is also something that needs to be understood and adhered to. So at this time, are there any members of public who would like to come and make a public comment on items that are not on the agenda, on anything? Nope. Okay. The next item is disclosure of any ex parte communications from the city council members. They should disclose any communication that they've had on the agenda items with any members of the public at this time. Diana?
I had a meeting.
Could you speak into your?
I had a brief meeting of, I think it's 71 Selby.
Okay, and turn it on. Is it on?
There's no button.
Okay.
They're all on.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, 71 Selby, okay.
At 2. Yeah, I've talked to a bunch of residents about grounds.
Okay, Rick? No, and I have none. The next item is our departmental written reports, which is in the agenda packet. If you haven't had a chance to read them, you should read them. It's full of lots of good information about the town. And I think city manager has something to say.
Before you move on to departmental reports, Madam Mayor, there's a report out of closed session from the city attorney.
I was doing that next. My agenda says I should do it next. Okay. The next. Yes, please.
Okay, I just want to inform the other members of the council that on the item on page 40 of 256, which is today's packet, there's a discussion of Peninsula Clean Energy's member agency grant, which Atherton has received approximately 180, or is eligible to receive approximately $180,000 worth. And in the report, staff identifies a number of places for EV charging stations. And I commented to staff that I thought Holbrook Palmer Park isn't a place where we need more of those, but around the town center, because they do get used here, is a place to consider.
Okay. Other comments? Seeing it. Thank you, Rick. Okay, so now we will report out of closed session. Our city attorney, Mona Ibrahimi. Hello. Hi, Mona.
Hi, good evening, Mayor. Thank you. The council did meet in closed session on the existing Sanchez litigation. There was no public comment before convening, and there's no reportable action.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go on to our consent agenda. The consent agenda items 1 through 7. Consent is typically things that are approved in bulk, but we have an opportunity for any member of the public to pull one for a comment or discussion. Public, the consent agenda items number 1 through 7. Bring it back to council. If any member of the council has an opportunity to pull or ask a question about any item 1 through 7. No? I have a couple of little comments about them. Item number 3 is a resolution authorizing executive primary grant agreement with the San Mateo County Transportation Authority for future measures A and W funding. This is something that we do once every 10 years. And this is their 10th year that we are going to be filing and adopting the resolution for the city manager to execute a primary grant agreement with the San Mateo County Transportation Authority, enabling us to receive the Measure A and Measure W funds. So I'm in agreement with that. I just wanted to bring it up and highlight it. And then I do want to pull item number 6, which is the council committee assignments for discussion. And if want to put that at the end of the meeting, we can do that, or we can talk about it now. Yeah, okay, do it now. So let's see. I just want to bring the point out that these are assignments by the mayor to council members to sit as liaisons on all of our resident-led committees, and that the responsibility is as a liaison and not as a participant necessarily. So I think that with that, if we don't have any other discussion about it, that's all I have to say. So I'll call for a motion to approve items number 1 through 7 as discussed.
Moved.
One motion, Diana will second the motion. Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is public hearing, and we don't have public hearing. Our regular agenda is items number 8 and 9. And item number 8 is going to be led by Robert Ovadia, which is the approval of professional services agreement with Alta Planning and Design for the Town of Atherton Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan Update and deferral of the Selby Lane Bicycle Lanes Project. There you go.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Appreciate the opportunity to bring this forward. As you noted, we are requesting that the council authorize an agreement with Alta Planning and Design for updating the town's bicycle and pedestrian master plan. Our master plan was initially developed in 2014, so it's a little over 10 years old. It's recommended that these types of master plans get revisited and updated regularly. Most recently, action by the San Mateo County Grand Jury recommended that all plans that are more than 5 years old be updated. And the update of the master plan was approved in this year's capital improvement program. So in July of this year, we issued a request for proposals for consultants to help us with the master plan update. We also engaged M Group, who is our planning consultant, to help us project manage this project. We received one proposal for the update, but the firm that we received it from is well qualified. They actually helped us outline and develop our initial master plan. So we are confident and comfortable that they're able to help us in our endeavors to update the master plan, to help us recognize the accomplishments that we've had to date, because we've had quite a few, to help us revisit the projects that were previously identified in the master plan, help us prioritize, look at where our residents want and need different types of improvements through a robust public engagement process, and to help us prioritize what those needs are, along with a tabulation of approximate costs for those projects. So included in that effort, as I said, was a robust public engagement process, both virtual and in-person public engagement. We are asking for a contingency to be added to the scope of the project in case we want to dive further in with that public engagement or have other specialized needs that are beyond the basic scope of the project. Additionally, we have a recommendation to defer the implementation of the Selby Lane Bicycle Lanes project. That project was previously identified as a priority for the town for implementation, and it had been funded for implementation or design and implementation over a couple of fiscal years. And we've been in that design process for, say, over a year at this point. Through the public engagement efforts that we have led, there's been significant opposition to the project as it was originally outlined. And so what we're recommending is that project be put on hold until we move forward far enough in this bicycle and pedestrian master plan to better identify what the right solution for Selby might be.
Okay.
I have Asher Khan on the line, who is with M Group, available to also answer questions if you have any.
So Robert, before we go to Asher, you indicated that there was an additional, you're requesting additional contingency. In the staff report, it says it's in the amount of $24,906. It's like $25,000.
Yeah, so
it's like 10% of the overall.
Something like that.
Is that it? That seems reasonable.
So I do want to highlight that there were a couple of one-on-one conversations with George and a couple of questions. And so I do want to take the opportunity to answer those. There was a question about the use of open maps. And so just a clarification, it's a data source that the consultant uses to gather information on streets. And so it's an open source thing where public kind of keeps track of how many lanes are on different streets and provides some information that we may not have readily at our fingertips. So it's an item that the consultant uses as a data source to help kind of fill in a few gaps. The second question was related to traffic modeling software. And that's not specifically included in this scope, but understanding the council's interest, will be reaching out both not just to Alta, but other traffic consultants that we have on retainer to make some recommendations as to what might be useful to the town.
Let's see. Well, should we ask if public has any comments on this?
Did he finish?
A few questions.
Our questions first. Okay. This is a question.
Several, okay. Page 193 of the pack. Section of work plan. Where they talk about expanding the existing safe routes to school and recommendations. And they talk about, well, they're going to go to the county and look at what the county says. Well, I think it needs to be based on some observations here. Well, which leads to another comment that I have is I'm hoping that they're going to do bike counts.
What's the question?
But the question was, are they going to use observations versus just things from the county safe routes to school program?
Okay.
So
I have an answer to that, I think.
Oh.
Well,
Public Works
from
Director.
CCAG, the county, they have a full staff member that deals with safe routes to school. And they are constantly doing monitoring, site monitoring, counting, and then they come back and give reports on that. So I think that's the information that our consultants would be drawing from.
I've never seen somebody out there counting bikes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm hoping that they will do bike counts. And I didn't see that necessarily in the proposal. And will they look at concurrent streets such as Laurel Street that's in Menlo Park and in Atherton?
Yeah, I would say they're going to look at our entire network of collector and arterial streets for those primary routes, and I think Laurel is one of those. Laurel has bike lanes on it currently, but it may be in need of refresh or update or upgrades. With regards to specific bike counts, I don't know that we have any particular locations identified at this point, but if there are some as we move through the process that we need to do, we can use some of that contingency funding to do some counts.
Yeah, I mentioned the Laurel because I mentioned that was a
Any,
safe route to school.
Yeah.
So the last question I
Okay.
have is they talked about they're going to have 2 pop-up meetings. Could we do to have more than just 2 pop-up?
So there's pop-up and then there's the neighborhood engagement. So pop-ups would be, for example, providing a booth or something at Earth Day, for example, where we set up shop and try and solicit input from or inform our residents that we're going through this effort and to gather input and information. Again, understanding that community engagement is a priority. That's one of the reasons why we're asking for the additional money for enhancement of some of that engagement.
Thank you.
other, yeah, Vice Mayor.
I have more questions that relate to the outreach component. It says we'll do 2 in-person neighborhood groups, and I understand we want more money to potentially do more of that. How are you guys identifying neighborhoods? Is it just ask for it? Because like Lindenwood versus west of Alameda are wholly different.
Yeah, so I think that that level of stakeholder engagement is going to come a little later on in the process after we get feedback on where our residents are identifying priorities and where they're identifying needs. And so as that gets flushed out, we're able to kind of segregate that. And I would, as you indicate, envision that it may be that either depending on what's identified in Lindenwood, either that by itself or cutting things off either west of El Camino and east of El Camino to kind of aggregate things there because the needs on each side are a little different.
I had another question, or just confirmation, because you say schools. I know we have a relationship with the public schools because they have the Safe Routes to School program, but we also have private schools. And so I just want to confirm that you will also be talking to Menlo College, Menlo School, Sacred Heart, because they have.
Yeah, so I envision that the conversations with the schools will include Menlo School and Sacred Heart, Menlo College to a degree, but they're not really children at Menlo College.
But they're bikes.
They
They are
like
residents who have transportation and bike and pedestrian
So-
needs.
But they
So
do have needs and.
Not many ride bikes.
I'm going to say
Seriously.
I would say it would be good to reach out to the right people at the schools to get the information.
Good to, got it. Ms. Thomas. Okay. Questions? Open it up to the public for questions or comments? Questions or comments? Okay, we'll bring it back
There
to,
was one online. I'll just read it to you because they sent it in the direct message chat. to
Okay.
me. And so it's from Ivana Rodriguez. How unfortunate there are many students around Adelante Selby biking, scootering to school. Safe Routes to School has donated helmets to many students who didn't have access.
oh, okay, that's a whole nother topic. Okay, bringing it back to council for comments.
Yeah, I didn't hear it either.
Oh, sure,
are
yes.
we doing Selby at the same time? Plan? That comments about the school.
It's all incorporated, Selby Lane plan, all. the-
Right, I'm just
yes.
asking, like, are we doing all of it at the same
Right.
time?
At the pleasure of the mayor, I'm happy to read the comment again.
Go ahead.
Okay. How unfortunate there are many students around Adelante Selby biking, scootering to school. Safe Routes to School has donated helmets to many students who didn't have access. This was a message sent to.
That some students,
Access
bicyclists
to
need
helmets.
helmets.
Yeah.
Helmets, yeah. That's a different issue than the we're talking about. Councilmember Van William, you have a comment.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I was the one who was asking about the modeling software. And I just wanted to say that I would like, we don't do this very often. Do it every 10 years, I think, something like that. And I think it would be wise for us to consider doing a modeling program. There are a lot of them now that are inexpensive or even free. And once we map our city in, then every time we change something, we can then look at it. If we're going to do construction on a big thing like our roundabout, for example, we can model what the traffic patterns or anticipate the traffic patterns. Once we get El Camino put in and all the changes are going to do there, that's going to have a huge impact. And if they get the SRI and they put 800 units over there, that's going to have an impact. So instead of waiting every 10 years to do this, I think it's really important, but I think the model should be added to it. It's not in this budget now, but I think if we look at it with his contingency money, or I would like to bring that as a thing that we consider, because I think it's important going forward. It also allows us to explain to people, because we have many meetings where we'll say, well, if we add this, it's going to slow the traffic down because it'll make the lanes smaller. You can show that, and then people will get it, because sometimes it's not intuitive.
I agree with you on that.
I think it's worth us considering, and if we don't have a budget for it in this, I'd like to, have us consider that.
Point well taken. Any other member of council have comments?
I've got two particular comments. I think that and unfortunately, the last time we did this master plan, we did 4 master plans at the time. So it didn't get the level of focus that I think it will get this time. And I'm glad that we're moving forward to redo this. I don't think it's an update. I think it's a completely new deal. I'm aware, and I heard the questions and comments regarding the scheduled meetings and the question about where those neighborhood meetings might apply, and as described on page 199. And I think 2 things. One, it's extremely important that for any specific area within Atherton, and that might even be just 1 block, but any specific area in Atherton where there's a recommended change, that the people who live in that area be fully notified. Now, we know that notification of residents doesn't mean that residents recognize that they've been notified. And it often takes us several times to contact them to get them to be aware and to begin to communicate with one another that there's a pending impact that could change their neighborhood or the situation on the street on which they live. But it's critical that we inform those people, and I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do that because our email list isn't broken down by neighborhood. But I think that notification is absolutely critical. And we wouldn't have had, or we may not have had, the problem that we've had with Selby Lane if those people had been notified the last time we did this. So that communication is critical. I think the second thing that I really feel strongly about is whenever there's a proposal that has a potential financial impact for both the town and the residents who may be impacted by it, that information has to be assessed and included in this master plan. And, from a council perspective, we were surprised by the impact of the proposed dedicated bike lanes on Atherton Avenue when that came up, and it only came up because there was a subdivision on Atherton Avenue where the developer had to pay into a fund what the cost would have been, several $100,000 for them to comply with the requirement that was in the bike ped master plan. And I don't think anyone on the council or anyone that lived in that area were aware of that impact. So I hope that this master plan, this new master plan will include that kind of financial analysis, because I think it's critical to residents in terms of them getting engaged and being aware of what the impacts might be, to know what the projected costs will be for them.
Is that all? Do you have
Yeah.
any? Okay, Councilmember Whitmer.
Yeah, a couple of things. First off, if we're gonna have meetings and we're gonna be notifying people, I think we need to improve the way we do that. I got the notification from the city about this meeting today. It'd be hard for me to change if I had something else going on other than being on the council. Bank plans to get here or even to dial in because I'm be there. So I think we need to do a better job with that. And the same thing happened last time we had a meeting. So hopefully we'll be able. Secondly, with regards to, listen to the people who live there and things like that, I agree with all that. However, I also like to point out that our goal is to be forward thinking. So just because somebody's not riding a bike today doesn't mean that there won't be riding bikes tomorrow. Okay, so I think that a trend is going, especially if there's not going to be any parking down in Menlo Park. There'll be a few more people riding a bike. So I do think that, Alta should be able to give us that, hopefully will give us that type of projection analysis, but we have to temper that because they're a little aggressive in some of their projections, because I was on the committee last time when they developed this.
Okay.
But I do think that we need to, not just say what is it today. There are more and more people riding bikes today than there were during COVID period, than as COVID was hitting. And I think that number is going to keep going up. The other thing is the type of bikes that they're riding are these 25-mile-an-hour electric bikes. And I think that Alta may have some input into that, but I think we need to have some rules with regards to that because of the fact that these kids that don't have driver's license aren't wearing helmets and are driving 25 miles an hour and hit. I've observed people getting hit. So anyway,
Thank you.
That's my comment. Thank you very much.
Pertaining to your last comment about the helmetless children riding with people on the back without license, I think we need to talk to our legislatures about this because I think some laws should be put in place that will address that specific problem that is being created with all these new e-bikes. I don't think that Atherton has the ability to create laws regulating that within town, do we?
No, but we can give tickets when they run up sign.
Well, that's a discussion with the
As
chief.
opposed to saying just warning.
Yes. So anyway, okay, well, thank you. Anything else?
Oh, I said-
All right. So what we have on this, yes,
I
you
have
do.
comments.
Oh, good.
I do. I have lots of comments.
Sorry.
I have a couple things. I think what Rick said a little bit ago about our master plans not being looked at enough is a good point. And George and I have talked about, I think we need to be working with our committees and looking at these plans more frequently. I'm an action plan. We have a bike ped master plan. We should be having joint sessions where we look at those with the people who care about those issues and identifying what our priorities are more frequently. Because I think a lot of work went into this plan 10 years ago, and then it's looked at exclusively by staff and people running for office like me. I read them all 2 years ago. But they have not been used as working documents the way I think they were intended to. So I think we should be working on finding ways to have those percolate up. I think that would give the committees more purpose to have more access and more feedback on that. And it also gives more avenues for the public to follow along as we're evaluating all these. So I think I've talked to George about it. I hope we can start something on that process-wise. When it comes to the bike ped master plan, I agree with what Bill said, that we are supposed to be forward-looking, and I think this plan is excellent. And I'm very happy that we are looking at doing that. I also don't think this plan is going to change all that much because the traffic is only getting worse. interest in biking is increasing. There's only so many places and roads in Atherton that really need them. So I'm really happy we're doing this. I think it's important for us to reprioritize and really look at like what comes next, because I don't know that I would have put Selby Lane as high as it was. I think because it was on the Safe Routes to School, there's access to funding. There's a lot of reasons why that percolated up, but I don't know. Those decisions made before I was on the council. And I think that's why having these regular refreshes of making sure that our prioritization is accurate would make sense. I think I would really like for us to be really careful and specific with our outreach strategy in educating people on the benefits and the necessity for bike lanes. They are so important. We keep hearing from residents, traffic is a problem, school drop-off is a problem. We have climate action plan goals. All of these things require bike lane. We have drainage problems. You know what fixes all of that? All of the green infrastructure that comes when we add a bike lane. When we are having school drop-off problems, it's because we're not providing alternatives to cars. So if you look at the statistics of the Menlo Park School District and the schools in Menlo Park, where they've invested in bike lanes, they have in their elementary schools, 30 to 40% of their kids are going to school via bikes. That is not the case in Atherton. And that's not the case for the Selby Adelante School because there are no bike lanes. So yes, we have major traffic problems when it comes to schools because there are not options for people. And there's also benefits to bikes for children. And specifically, I'm on the CCAG, the Congestion Management Environmental Quality Committee, and we got a presentation from Safe Routes to School. And they presented all of these data, these amazing pieces of data that kids who ride bikes to school get better grades. Kids who ride their bikes to school have better mental health. Burnout is a real problem for kids in school right now. And having access to outdoor time, having that decompression time, that independence of getting to school on their own, there's studies that show that that makes a big difference. So we should be prioritizing that. I'm not sure that Selby should have been percolated up in the way that it was, but I think we need to be presenting this information to people in our outreach meetings. Property values go up when you have a bike lane. Your traffic goes down, crime goes down. All of these things are things that we all want for our houses, for our residents. Nobody knows that. So I would like to see all of that information with the articles and the data included in that outreach so that people are working with us to figure out how to make these bike lanes work for their neighborhood and be happy about it. Because I think what happened with Selby Lane is that they were presented very jargon focused, engineering plans, and they didn't realize what a gift that they've been risen to the top of the list. So I'm fine with, listening to the feedback and having it be, shelved for now. But I think we all collectively need to get behind bike lanes. It's important for our community. It's important for our kids. It's important for everyone's health. It's important for community development. It's important for our traffic, for our drainage. These are very simple, elegant, cheap solutions to a lot of problems that we are seeing in the town. So that's my comment.
Good for you. Thank you very much.
I ran on bike lanes, guys. And I got elected.
And you are on the bike lane. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
I just want to comment on the fact that we are updating a bike transportation plan that is 10 years old. And when we put Selby Lane bike lanes in the plan 10 years ago, it was everyone on the street and in the school, not Adelante, but it was Selby Lane School, wanted it because so many of their students were biking at that time. Fast forward 10 years to today, that's not the case because Adelante School is a different demographic. It's not as many middle school. It's like mostly elementary and they aren't riding bikes. So that, the wheels of public infrastructure go slowly. They turn slowly. We make a decision here, maybe 5 10 years from now, it will be constructed, kind of a thing. It has to go through so many things. So I hear what you're saying. I agree 100%. And so it's just in our defense, 10 years ago, with the Selby Lane bikes and the outreach, it had been done. But anyway, Councilmember Hawkins.
Following what both of you guys are saying, the modeling software will allow us to keep up to date on changes.
Well,
Because when that school
yes.
changed, the pattern changed.
Exactly.
And we know there's other big changes coming. So we'll do this study. And then 2 years later, they're going to build the complete streets. That's going to change the whole thing all again.
Well, let's learn some more about that. They didn't have modeling software 10 years ago.
Right, yeah.
So now we can take advantage of it. So I think that we need to make a recommendation that the council authorize the city attorney to prepare and the city manager to execute a professional services agreement with Alta Planning and Design for the Town of Atherton Bike and Ped Master Plan update in the total amount not to exceed $250,000, including the contingency. And then it is further recommended that the city council defer implementation of the Selby Lane Bicycle Lanes project. Can I have a motion or?
I'd like to make an amendment to that. It mentioned some things that we would like to have considered and added in.
Okay,
The ideas that
let's
I
hear
came
what you
in
have to say.
To say as discussed, amendments as discussed at the city council meetings were about the
modeling
neighborhood
software?
meetings, the monitoring.
No, wait a minute, excuse me.
The modeling software is additional money. So if
Yeah.
you're beyond a contingency,
Right.
you can't do that in the contingency. And as Robert mentioned, we've heard the direction.
Yes.
Let staff evaluate the various modeling software packages that are out there.
Okay.
And we'll come back to you with a recommendation on purchase for
So
that.
Councilmember
We heard
Whitmer,
that.
let's just, yeah.
But
let's
we
just
also
go-
talked about-
Councilmember Whitmer, I'd like to just stick to the recommendation that I've just made, and then we can come back and add the things that you think that you need to say. Okay?
Or we vote.
Why not?
Why not? Because once it's voted, it's done. And adding something else to it, you kind of have to reopen it. I think there were two things that I brought up there that about having real bike counts and secondly, having more of these neighborhood meetings. He said only 2 in their contract. I think we need to have more. That's part of the problem. If we're going to have the openness that Rick spoke about so eloquently, I do believe have more of these neighborhood meetings.
So what we're agreeing to is that we are going to update the bicycle and pedestrian master plan. And within that update of the plan, we can direct staff to take into consideration some of these recommendations that we've made tonight.
Those changes in the contract.
I think we've heard the council's input to do more additional engagement opportunities. We've got the contingency to do that and we've heard the comments from the council to increase that. I think that's what we need.
You can
In
come
terms
back
of
to
the bike
council.
counts, we'll get
I
them
would
as
say you
needed.
could come back to council if you need additional funds to do what we have just downloaded onto you. And Councilmember DeGoya wanted to say something.
Well, you were gonna look into the software deal. If that's gonna cost more, I don't think the council is saying we should spend more than is the
So,
resolution.
With regards to the modeling software, we heard the direction. We have to do some investigation.
Yeah,
So we want to do that. We'll come back with a recommendation.
great.
Good.
I think that's fine. I think we should go forward with the contract as
Yeah.
the mayor's proposed.
That's my
Not the
motion.
one
Do I
that's-
have a second?
Not the one that's written here.
Like to make a second?
So the motion
But-
is to
but-
make sure all Bill's stuff is in. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
that it's for this.
With the knowledge that staff has received. Okay.
If I can just summarize,
Yes, please.
so it sounds like the motion may be to approve staff's recommended action and take into consideration amending the scope of work to increase the neighborhood meetings and increase bike counts. and move forward with the contract as long as the contract amount does not exceed the $250,000. However, if the contract amount and contingency will exceed what's being authorized today, then staff will come back to you with a change order or a contract amendment to include those items, and will separately investigate the software component of it and report back on that.
I feel comfortable with that. Councilmember Hawkins, do you feel
Sounds
comfortable?
good to me.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Did I get a second from Vice Mayor Hawkins?
Yeah,
Second it.
Stacy.
Stacy said.
Good. Okay. Well, that passed. Okay. So our next item on the agenda is item number 9, which has to do with playgrounds.
So
How
if we
fun is
haven't had
that?
enough fun with bikes, now we get to go to the playground.
This should be a walk in the park.
Parks.
Puppies.
I do appreciate the pun.
Elizabeth, I got all the
Thank
parks
you,
and-
Mayor, members of the
Parks.
council. At your December 4th study session, we laid out for you a couple of different design options related to the playground at Holbrook Palmer Park, including a conventional design and one that was being presented by the Magical Bridge Foundation. The council deferred a decision on design direction pending a request for additional information. That request for additional information was provided via one-on-one meetings with the city manager for staff to compile and try and respond. Following the council meeting, staff received an email correspondence from Magical Bridge Foundation withdrawing the offer for their playground. So right now, we're more focused on the conventional design. And in your staff report or outline of additional information requests related to design elements, including surfacing materials, playground equipment, different types and styles of playground equipment, different play elements. And we provided some estimated costs for some of those items, including, for example, going from a mix of surfacing materials to completely poured in place, which adds about $150,000 to the project budget, to the inclusion of or looking at higher swings, different swing types, different spinning equipment. And so you have that information in your staff report. I have Scott Harrison, who's our project manager from Interwest, on the line to help answer some questions. I do want to highlight that we're able to incorporate a variety of these things based on your direction. The things that we will need to look at after we get the feedback is whether or not and how these things fit into the footprint of the playground that we have laid out right now. And so to accommodate things, let's say, for example, like higher swings, it may need a larger fall zone, which may require a little more space. And so sometimes you can overlap some of those spaces. And so we will need your feedback to kind of help us tweak the design. And so before we get into kind of specific items, I do want to highlight kind of process-wise where we are and where we would be going in terms of trying to implement this project. So this project has been delayed a little bit based on the iterations of designs initially going through the Park and Rec Committee. And then with the new alternative being added with Magical Bridge, it kind of pushed out our schedule quite a bit. That being said, we do appreciate all the input that we received along the way. So the playground that we have now was laid out by Playcore using Playcore equipment, and it is obtainable via a joint procurement contract where we can obtain the equipment and have them do the installation once the design is finalized. There are a variety of joint procurement vendors, and that includes Compan and others. But if you go that route, either A, we're buying the equipment in advance to get a discount, or we're using that joint procurement pricing to get, I'll call it a known cost for getting the project implemented. The alternative to that is to go through our normal design and bidding process, where we take this information, we spec the equipment out, and we put it out to bid, which adds a bit more time and a little more uncertainty in terms of what that bidding climate is. And so if we are going to use 50% from one vendor and 50% from another vendor, then we're likely going to have to go that bidding route. On the other hand, if we're predominantly with one vendor and there's a piece or two of equipment that we are purchasing outside, we can likely have that installed as part of that overall joint procurement contract.
One vendor be systems integrator or systems?
Can you clarify that question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're
So,
going to
no,
tell the
that-
one
so that is-
contractor to
that-
go
that
out.
is the route that we've been going was basically they would do the installation.
Okay.
Okay,
do
so
that
they
joint
would be
procurement.
responsible for specing it.
Well, we're picking the equipment.
Yeah, I know, but they're
And-
gonna make sure that safety standards,
Yes.
and then they're going to get it installed.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Are you ready for questions?
At the pleasure of the mayor and the council.
I know that our vice mayor has questions, and I'll let her go.
I don't actually have. I
She's
think my question
backpedaling.
is, how are we structuring this meeting? Are we gonna go through like fence, yes, no? Or are we gonna do like, let's talk about the swings and give our feet, like how?
Yeah, how?
I wanna get real deep in the weeds and I'm trying really hard to contain myself as
Through
someone
page
who spends a lot of
231,
time in
yeah.
playgrounds.
So, okay. Robert, I should ask you, had you finished your presentation?
Unless you need more information with regards to what's in the package, I'm
Right.
done with the specific
Well,
information.
the
But if you have, I'm happy to answer questions about procurement, and then we can get into, as the vice mayor said, the weeds, because what we need as staff
Yeah.
and the design team is to know
What we want.
what you want.
Yeah. So the
Let's get into
procurement stuff, I don't care about that. I mean,
Okay.
I do, but I don't. I mean, I care about
Yeah.
specifics.
So the only item that I do want to mention
Uh.
is that it is impossible to construct a playground in the summertime. And that-
Impossible to,
To construct a
we
playground in
got time
summertime?
then.
No. And I say that because
Oh, no, you want
the
it now.
majority of playground contractors are working at schools.
Schools. Okay.
Ah,
And so that is a window that
so you're
we're
saying,
not actually going to be able to do. So it's going to be likely, in reality, the construction, we'll be able to procure equipment approaching that period of time, but the construction will likely be right after summer.
okay, okay.
And so I'd encourage you to go through page 231.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what
okay.
we should do.
Yeah, yeah.
31
That's
through
what we
32.
were going to do, right? So if we
Just
go
say
to
why the
page 231.
procurement came up. It
Surfacing.
came up because the numbers were so shockingly high, specifically on the ones that were the buildings. And so I had talked to George about why don't we pull out just the building part? Because there's so many other people that do that. You have to stay with the playground vendors for the playground equipment, but maybe for the buildings not. So I think that's why that came as a discussion.
Okay.
But
okay.
it's not.
That's probably a really good, point that we should focus on. But since we're all here and we've got, if you look at page 231, it's like a menu of everything, right?
This attached. I'm not working on print.
Yes,
That's-
see, play area
Okay.
surfacing.
Yep,
It starts
I'm in.
there, yeah. And,
More option.
this is, so I think that if we took it
We're just gonna
section
go
by
through the
section,
menu? Should we do
okay?
Public comment before?
Shall we, okay,
I
is
have
there
some
any,
questions too still.
um,
We're into
we've
deciding.
kind of turned this all upside down.
know.
This is more like a workshop at this point.
Yeah.
It's not like,
So I was like,
comments and
how
questions.
are we doing this? When do I
Yeah.
unleash myself?
But Why don't we just open up to members of the public to make any questions or comments about this item, if you have passion for playground design, one way or another. I see none. Anyone online? I see none. Okay, we're bringing it back to our team here. And Diana, why don't you go first? Play area surfacing.
Yeah,
Wait,
that was
are
the
you
one
just
that
gonna-
I had a
everybody
question about.
comments on everything?
Yeah, that's how, George, we just figured out that we're going to do it section by
Huh?
section.
Why don't you take it one bullet point at a time?
Yeah, the play area surfacing.
That
So
one should be
that's
real
a
easy.
section.
That should
There's
be a real easy
four little bullet points in
Okay.
play area surfacing.
Okay.
So there's an additional cost of rubberized surfacing for the hot play area of
I'll read it.
$48,000. But there's a credit available for the deletion of wood chips of $9,000. I
We
mean,
can read
that's
it.
a financial.
Read it.
I guess the thought is, do you want rubberized surfacing for the
I'll
hot
start.
play area?
Yes.
Okay,
Can I add to that?
yes.
What I wanted to say is in the numbers, if you go back to 245 on this, you're seeing rubberized surface for the Todd area, and they separate it out for the older area versus the entire area. So the question I had is, what if instead of doing the entire fenced-in area in rubber, we add grass? And we use the rubber a little more sparingly in the falling zones. So the question I was asking is, how much more is it to do grass? Because grass is a fun play area too.
You tip.
So go ahead,
I'm gonna
opine on
interject, is
grass.
Typically, inside the playground, there's not really grass areas. We have the grass field right outside the playground. And there are additional concerns that I'd have from a maintenance perspective of having grass inside the playground. That ranges from how are we gonna irrigate it? How are we gonna cut it, take care of it, mow it? Because if it's a tiny patch, that means that we're doing a hand mow.
Okay,
And
okay, we have Councilmember DeGoya would like to opine on that.
Well, we're dealing with play area surfacing. That's
Yes.
what you
Yes,
directed. I think that we should change the surface for the tot play area to be all rubberized. I wonder if we really need to replace the surface area for the older children, because I think that most of these playgrounds have wood chips, and the older kids, it's probably not a big deal, but I'm not 100% sure about what to do about that, but it obviously is an additional almost $100,000.
Okay.
Can I finish? I'm going through my
No, no.
comments for the section.
I was going to.
Well, I don't need a summary. I'm in the middle of a comment.
Liked your two.
The, on the fourth issue about, incorporating some kind of games on some of that rubberized surface, that sounds to me like a pretty good use of some of the space that would otherwise be open space. I don't have a really strong comment on it. But I don't think that we should include grass in there. There's a reason that you don't see grass on playgrounds, and the kids have that big grass field right next to it. I think that the most important thing is to create an environment that's easily maintained, and grass is tough.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah,
good
sure,
enough.
no problem. I'll go when you call on me. I thought that I heard at the meeting last time that we want it rubberized throughout. I can understand that maybe for the older children, we might want to put that cork thing down that Magic Bridge spoke about. I think that at the last meeting, it was said, and I think Stacy opined that her child, who's younger, plays on the big kid stuff. And I think that that's what we're going to see. The more adventurous, smaller kids are going to go play on that. And so there are concerns about wood chips and what they do when you fall on them and splinters, stuff like that. So Magic Bridge had talked about this cork covering. You know, in the less, in the higher kids area, should probably investigate that. But I thought that we were 100% that we wanted some sort of coverage around.
All right. I think the whole thing should be rubberized or cork. I think cork would be beautiful and it'd be more natural. I don't know what the price difference is. You guys didn't have that information, so it's a wildly different price. Like, rubber's fine. I think it needs to be a single thing. Having everything be rubber, not having tan bark, not having grass, it beyond the splinters and the absolute awfulness that is wood chips. It is also a tripping hazard for people with mobility issues. So I've seen parents eat it going on the transition between chips and rubber. So I think having it be a wholly rubber structure will make it easier for caretakers and people with mobility issues to have access to our playgrounds in addition to not having wood chips. So,
Can I comment?
So, yeah,
I
sure.
didn't get, that was a question before. I
Yeah, yeah.
100% agree, no wood chips. I agree with Stacy about the cork. I don't know the price difference, so it'd be interesting to know the price difference and see samples of it. And I'm a big advocate of the hopscotch built in, although my eyes popped at the 5,000. I don't know why it's that much more. That surprised me. But I think though those are, all those kinds of things are really good use of time and space.
Okay, so my questions,
you guys have direction.
just 1 second, please.
We have comment on cork.
Okay, cork.
So Scott did some preliminary investigation. He thinks it's about $10 a square foot more, but we can
How much?
take $10 a square foot more above the rubber. So it's rather expensive, but we'll do some
Oh.
additional digging and find.
Is it healthier?
Oh, with
Do we-
rubber.
Okay.
I do have a follow-up question about, as you guys are researching cork, is it more durable? Because the rubber needs repairing more some frequency. So if the cork long-term is cheaper, I would like to.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'm not familiar with.
Just
I could find out that information, but the cork is fairly new. It's not used as often. It's kind of a newer product, so the time frame of how long it lasts is not as known. But I would say that there's not much of a difference on the longevity of it. It's more of the maintenance yearly. The hopscotch, just to answer that question, the reason why is because that hopscotch, and I didn't have the backup picture in there included, but it was a multicolor hopscotch. So if we didn't have the multiple colors for the squares of the hopscotch, it would probably be cheaper. It's using the different color of the rubbers that made it that much more money. And it had like reds, yellows, blues, green.
Okay, so I have a question about the hopscotch, that the design, and you've kind of cleared it up a little bit, that it's pieces of different color rubber, or it would be, it's not painted on, but it's installed. And so won't that rubber kind of curl up, or
No.
if there's gaps in it?
It's
how-
embedded. It's embedded with the entire PIP installation. So it wouldn't be like little square pieces that are put in there. It would all be melted down together as one. It's just you're using different colors for those squares to piece them in.
Okay, so my opinion about this, I mean, if we're really trying to manage our costs as well as create something that is new and for the future, I tend to agree with Councilmember DeGoya that a combination for the older kids could be, refreshed chips of some kind. And I know it's gross and they have splinters, but we've been using redwood chips for a long time and it seems to work. And then for the tot area, a more safety surface is probably the way to go. But if you look at the entire playground, $150,000 for all rubberized, I mean, it's a lot. the other thing I was going to ask is that it says additional costs to incorporate surface games such as hopscotch, et cetera, on rubber surfacing equipment. Is it $5,000 per game? Like if you have a
No, I
chess
think
game?
as we do it, it's just to integrate it into the overall layout. And
It's just one.
Well, I envision
it's
that we'll
more.
probably have a couple different things.
Okay, for the
Yeah,
5,000.
it says it's surface
okay.
games, games within it.
Well,
The
you know,
design will be
it
important
was
on that.
not clear.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Are we
those
rubberizing? I saw
custom
3
or
votes for
purchased?
rubberizing and 2 votes for not rubberizing. Rubberized all the way or not? Can't just take your
I
last
saw
comment that you got.
Well, no, 3 people want to put rubber in everywhere, so.
Yeah.
I mean, it should just, it's $134,000 for the 134 net.
Get the reduction. of-
Well, plus the
39,000 plus 90,000 plus 5,000 is 34.
I think that's the safest. But I want to spend them.
Okay.
Next.
Play equipment. So,
First.
okay.
On the TP, George showed me a $5,000 TP. It was made out of willow branches or something like that. Yeah, and so.
How much?
we're at-
14?
Okay, it's not 50. So I think that, you know, if we're going to do something like that, I mean, I thought it was an attractive thing. You could see into it. And I thought that that was good. I should have, I thought there was unanimous discussion about having a TP. The harmonic chimes, which everybody had spoken about positively when we had Magic Bridge here, I think that we should have that. I'm open to for an arch swing or a merry-go-round, but so the money spending. So those 2 things I think are definite yes for me.
I'm happy to. The Willow Branch TP is the one that was designed for the library children's play space, and I think it's at least as attractive as the other. And in fact, you can see into it, which I think would be good for parents looking into their little kids. I think the harmonic chimes is important. I would include the jazz A minor. I think that the more of these sound things, I think they're going to get very heavily used.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's well worth the money. I would not do the tot structure. I personally wouldn't do the arch swing. I'm indifferent about the merry-go-round. It's a net about $10,000 additional.
Casey?
So I do want to say that we have a bigger spinner in the older kids area. So
Maybe we don't need a
that.
new one.
Yeah.
What is the spinner like? Is that a handicap access one or
one more time.
what is it, a handicap access one that we have in the old
yeah.
area?
Yes.
Can,
You can pull a wheelchair into it.
Too bad.
Is
No.
it,
Wait,
because, is it in
sometimes
this
I
packet?
feel that way.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you,
What
I'm gonna
page is
say
it?
it's, I don't know what the page number is, but what the image with the older kids area, you have the large spinner. Oh,
It's on
This one right
page
here?
235.
Like
Yeah.
this, right here.
What's the price
235.
difference between that one and the other one, the?
well, this
Colorado?
one is already included in the package that we have.
So we don't
And-
need to.
But we could
So
replace it
I think
if
the
it's-
comment that was made was related to the little kids area.
Yeah.
And so we have a dual spinner that's included in that layout.
But this is net, that this is, right, and
And
this
so
is.
it was a matter of if you wanted a bigger spinner in the little kids area.
Oh, it's that blue thing in the back of the
No,
pack.
that's the merry-go-round.
Oh,
The good thing about this merry-go-round is
There you go.
it's got
That
4.
green- The
Yes,
green
it's
item in.
opposed
the
Each
to-
is a
screen.
spinner.
Yeah, and that looks like a 1 or maybe 2-person
Yeah.
thing. This is a
2-person.
4-person thing. So it's a little bit bigger, which is why it's $10,000 more.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably would go for the merry-go-round. I think having 4 kids in.
Is nice. Yes.
I'm done.
Okay, I looked at the buildings, the retreat hut and the Mother Tree team, and I thought the prices were over the top for those. But my opinion is on each of the kids area, the little kids and the big kids, we have to have one central focus thing that when you look at it, you go, wow, that's cool. And so that's what made me down the path of maybe we should pull out just the structures, because those are done by other people other than playground people too. If you remember at the Stanford Mall, they have that annual auction of all those little houses.
Uh-huh.
And they're very creative
Very
and
cute.
they're very like, that's a wow. So the thought process I was doing with George is what if we pull out just the structure, because those are done by other things, and have that be a different bid. But I think if we, at minimum, the retreat hut for this price versus the TP out of Willow, TP out of
Definitely.
Willow is way better. So that's hands down. But I wanted to throw out the idea of having a separate vendor just for the building part. That would open us up to more creativity. Of the chimes, if we were on a budget, I would either get the 3 chime or the jazz minor. And I would, my preference is for the jazz minor because it looks cooler. It's got more sounds in it. If we could do both, if that was a budget, great. If not, I would go for the jazz minor. The arch swing was something, the swing itself is the round part on the bottom. That we absolutely want. I feel that the price we're seeing here might be because of that arch structure, which is not necessary. So I'd like to explore looking at those round swings, but putting them on just a regular thing, because I've seen them all over the place, and those have got to be a lot cheaper. So then you could have more than one of those. Because in the case Stacy was making earlier, that you want to have more than one swing. You can't have one swing, everybody's fight over it.
Looks like there's
So-
2 buckets, two seats in this arch thing.
In any case, you're paying for the arch because that number is way high. I bet if we were to find, and that kind of swing, that little flat saucer swing are all over the place. I mean, those are hundreds of dollars, just the swing as opposed to thousands. So
There's a lot of disc swing options like that. The issue with that is kind of what Robert had mentioned. Those 2 items specifically, the arch swing and the merry-go-all, those there's a concern just with spacing and fall zones with what we currently have. If you change out that merry-go-all with the dual spinner, and we haven't done the CAD switch out, but just looking at it, that is a concern with the spacing that one would require, being twice the size for 4 seats over 2 seats with what you currently see there and what it requires. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's just that's one of the items that we have to pull out the CAD and pop it in and look at it. The arch swing, for sure, there is with swings in general and the spacing that you need, that one will not fit without making some type of concept design change. And if that was the sand pit area went away and it went there, just with the concerns, that is a possibility with putting in the arch swing, which is a savings on not having the sand pit there and the 2 shovel diggers.
The merry-go-round, the spin zone that's on page 240. I have a picture of, it's got these climbing ropes and it spins around. Is that what we're talking about, the merry-go-round, or is there a picture of
No,
something
there's a
else?
picture. Keep
No,
going.
Why?
It's on page 252.
Yeah, 252, and that's just a standard color from their catalog, but you could do a green or a brown or something that matches the
So,
look.
the merry-go-round looks to me like there's space, if you put it I'm not sure if this is the small or the large kids area.
It's the large kid area where the duo spinner is. If you look at
Not the dual spinner, but if you put it in the one where the
And
other spinner is, it looks like that's a 1-person little
Looks
truck
like
in
there's a
there.
handicap person on a wheelchair.
Yeah, that's the wheelchair accessible spinner for wheelchairs to go into and park and spin around.
I see. Okay.
So that includes, it's called inclusive whirl. It's an inclusive piece that could come out and this could go in there, but you'd lose that.
So,
You'd lose the inclusivity.
so
Is this
the,
one inclusive? No?
No.
And is there an age bracket for this one?
Well, so I think the option of that merry-go-round thing would be to replace the dual spinner in the tot area.
Right.
Where the,
Where it's-
the handicap.
No,
No.
not the handicap, the dual spinner.
Okay.
This one
So
here.
Let me.
the one in the older kids area is a lot larger than the dual spinner. It
Very
fits somebody on a wheelchair. There's
Right here.
also a bench seat for folks to participate in. So on the screen there, that's the dual spinner location. And that could be swapped out theoretically with that merry-go-round.
Yeah.
I think I would like to ask for clarification on swing types. We have a variety of different swing types in the plan currently. And hearing the conversation, it's probably beneficial for us to understand how many of what type of swing you would like. 'Cause,
material or the type of swing?
the type of
Can I-
swing.
Before we dive into
Yeah.
swings, which you
Material.
know I'm really excited about engaging on, I have a question idea about the play structures for the tot section of the playground. I think our existing tot structures in our current playground are still excellent. The train is great, little station, like those have held up. They're really great. And I'm wondering if those I derailed this wildly with a crazy idea here, but I think it might be nice to have that train and there's like one where you can sit in and it's like a little restaurant, it's like a station or something. So those are much bigger than the tiny one that you have in this design. So it would wildly change what you have planned here, but I'm just wondering, is that something that we could consider that?
And from a concept standpoint, that can definitely happen. It's just going back to taking that out, and then there's a lot of options for little hut playhouse themed, railroad looking items that you could probably fit 2 or 3, maybe spread out right there. Cost wise, we'd have to look at and exactly what you're imagining.
Because we could preserve these and
I'm gonna say-
I'm all for
I'm gonna say we
reusing
can-
something
we
that
can
is
try.
working.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So those are, I mean, this playground, it's great for hot side of it. It's very good. It's the rest of it that hasn't held up. So if we could, is there cost savings to that?
Maybe we should just focus on the side and leave.
So I'm not quite sure how, I'm gonna say, I don't know how much money we would actually save, because what that means is you have to be careful when you take it apart.
Okay, just one.
And there may or may not be broken pieces or other things that would need to be replaced. But we hear you. We can take a look and see whether we can take a look at the equipment we have, that potential, or if there's something similar available to kind of keep that theme.
Councilmember Whitmer has a comment.
Yeah, a lot of these things, as I'm looking at the pictures, all look plastic. And unless they're going to have a sail over them in the summertime with kids with shorts on, jumping in there are going to get legs burned. So, I put in my comments when asked, like to have them over the slide, but now all these spinners are all plastic. Are there options to have them say different material that won't conduct as fast, sunlight and get really hot?
Councilmember, the next section is all about shade.
I know,
Okay.
but
No, he's
that was my
asking about-
question
Asking a
about the
different thing.
material.
Yeah.
That was, my
Material.
question was
Right.
about the material
So I'm
of
gonna say, unfortunately, with something like a spinner, you're gonna have probably 2 choices. One is plastic, the other is metal.
Battles
well,
worse.
both of them are just as
And
bad.
both of them are just as bad. So there are, when it comes to the structure itself, the posts and things, there's options, but most of the playable surfaces or, for example, slides or spinners or.
I got the message.
Okay, let's
Those
go
are
on.
either going to be metal or they could be
Continue on.
coated, but they're going to be either
And
metal
so,
or plastic.
I got the message.
Vice Mayor has not finished and she would love to finish. I'm certain.
Okay. I'm not in favor of the musical.
You're not in favor of?
None of the
Music.
bong, bong, bongs.
No.
I love it.
I mean, I have spent a lot of time with such things in many places. They're pretty loud and it's like if you had like humongous wind chimes, it's like that beautiful gonging sound, but also you have like children like going to town on it. And I think Enzo and I have a great time on them. And also I think we consistently get a lot of feedback about the park and people being worried about quietness of the park. And so it's a beautiful gong me sound, but I think that just it's a change. Like it's a very quiet park right now, and that travels. So I don't think this is a necessary upgrade, personally. And they break, and thank you, Anthony. Yes, come up here. Let's do it together.
Okay.
As the playground people.
I do want to point out, we do have I
Yeah.
think I've mentioned it, but we do have the flower tongs that are musical elements in the tot area basically has a bar connected to it with a wire. It's right to the left of that duo spinner. If you go down right there, and then there's one on the other side.
Are there
I'm
other?
gonna rip off that bar.
Hard to see what
Right,
that is.
Okay.
Okay,
Are you-
so
Come on.
my other one for the hut. From my perspective, the benefit of the hut and why we identified it as nice from Magical Bridge is that why they've chosen to have it be a closed hut structure is that it provides a place for people with sensory issues. It gives them a quiet zone. Having the full walls, having the shade, if someone's getting overstimulated, it gives them a respite place. It also gives privacy for like breastfeeding moms and a shade structure. So I don't think there's a ton of value of having that hut, this willow hut, although it's beautiful. It kind of is similar to just a regular play structure, which we have already. So to me, I'm all or nothing because I think the closed hut, the 50,000 one, it makes our playground a little bit more inclusive versus this design is not, doesn't serve that same purpose and gets a little competitive to the house and stuff.
You guys keeping track of the votes?
We're going to vote at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, no problem.
Yes.
Teenagers go and smoke pot in those.
Yeah, I have worries about a completely private environment and, go on inside. And, with this willow hut, it is open. I mean, you could throw a blanket over it or something to create a little bit more intimacy or privacy, or palm fronds, for something. I think it's more versatile than what you mentioned. So I'm a fan of the willow hut.
Ready to discuss swing. I don't there are a lot of playgrounds, especially new playgrounds in the area where they have one bucket swing, one, parent, caregiver and kid combined swing, one two-person swing, where they're trying to have a menu, and then it means the kids are going freaking crazy over the one of each one. And it is having a diversity of options is not actually good in this setting. So I think I would prefer having since I hope we will be fencing the whole thing together, I think having all the swings in one place so you can have bucket swings close to the big kid swings, or a caregiver gives you the option of pushing multiple children of multiple age. So having all the swings consolidated is my preference, and then having at least two, everything, that we choose whatever that may be.
So.
Up now.
So
How many
I'm
are in
just
this
gonna
design?
interject. I just like, I
You're going,
do-
what,
I
what,
do
I'm
what?
want
I am
clarity
really
on the
changing this
type.
design.
So one of the things that you'll notice in the playground is that even though the swing structure is small, it requires the most amount of space in terms of fall zone. And orientation and how big is really important because it affects what fits everywhere else. So when I appreciate what you're saying. I don't know that we can combine them all, but we do have the ability to make some tweaks. But I think one of the questions that I have is kind of along the same lines is how many bucket swings, how many ADA seats? Do we want tandem swings? Do we want belt swings? Do we want disc swings? Because each of those
Gonna do a
has
different thing.
has its own kind of space requirement, and you can't really fit too many of the varying things next to each other. And so if I were to ask you, for example, in this layout, in the tot area, it looks like there's one bucket and one expression. And Scott, can you remind me, is the expression the hard seat that has the pull down, kind of like the,
No, that's on the other side.
down?
This one is like a tandem adaptive seat where you can have someone adult wise or another kid on that little bench seat area, and then on the other
Okay.
side is kind of like an ADA seat. Not the zero gravity one that is like a pull down, but it's I can share an
No,
image.
that's okay. I think we all have that now.
Yeah.
And so my question is, in the tot area, what kind of swings do you want?
And in terms of space, Scott, that blue outline there,
That's the fall zone.
that's the fall zone for that particular piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and there's no way to add another bay for a third swing without eliminating that bigger structure
Also,
and moving some stuff around.
because it's handy. Is that
Why
what's
does the
happening?
fog zone have to go to the side of the structure?
Yeah, like, how
Somebody
would you
gonna
fall
jump
off that
off
way?
the top?
How would
No,
you-
so the way it works as you're putting the stuff in, there are items that can be in that little rounded area. They
Yeah.
can kind of overlap, but you can never overlap into that front of the swing or behind the swing.
Of course.
Yeah. So you can slightly overlap into that area that rounds out. And there's certain items that can't, like this, like I believe this slide area can't go into there. But like this duo spinner could slightly go in there.
Or another
Right.
swing.
Flowers.
Or the
So if you
merry-round.
if you add another swing in there, you're gonna be coming off of that, I don't know, 10 feet or so, but then you're gonna have that whole front area boxed out in front of it that you can't have any overlap at all.
Well, if you put another swing in there, you can move over the total swing, because at the black thing is the fence, right?
Black line.
Black line's the fence.
Yeah.
Yep.
So no one's going to be walking in that area. So I would think you could move structure over and add a third bay.
No, you can't do that.
I
See the
know, I
measurement.
know it looks like we could design this, but there are certain legal parameters
Yeah,
that
no,
the
there,
design team has to know.
Yeah,
that we
the-
don't know.
that's positioned that way for that reason, right up on that fence, because you can't go in there. Because technically you could have someone climb on the pole or something that, if they were to hit that fence for whatever reason.
Right.
It's all CPSI, Certified Playground Safety Inspection code distances. And every equipment is different.
Yes, we
Working
need to move
overall.
on here a little bit because we've got a couple things. So where are we with our play equipment?
Was everyone commented?
Diana has, yes?
Robert
Good.
asked us a swing question. I don't think.
Sure. I'm wondering whether the other swings have as big a fall zone. Here's one too.
They do. As you can see here, this is a 4-swing bay and it's wider than the other one. And so again, it's kind of that same question as to what kind of swings do you want?
Well,
He's
this
also-
I don't
image,
know that we need as many tandem
I don't
expression
think so
swings as we
either.
have here.
Yeah, how big are regular swings? Like,
I just
Well,
want
there's
to,
one belt swing that's on there.
The belt
there's
So
only
that's
one
the-
belt swing in
right
this whole
there,
design?
that little
So,
rectangle there.
and so in understanding of Councilmember Holland's comment, it's the same question I have is what kind of swings do you want? We don't have to have this wide variety. Right now, what we have at the playground, I think we have 3 different types. We have 2 belt swings. We have, I think, 1 bucket swing and 1 hard seat.
So,
no, but
Can't
there's
we
also
take one-
two dual swings.
can we take one of those dual swings and put it where the belt swing is and then brings other belt swings and, make this whole other area belt swings or a ADA, hard swing.
Why don't you
Sure,
just
we-
make this two dual swings and 2 regular swings? And that addresses what Stacy's saying about having 2, and on the top side, there's 1 of each.
Yeah, but they want this one over here, Rick, the ADA
Yeah, that
zero chair.
Well,
that was specifically requested
Yeah.
through survey and everything, because you guys have one out there now. This one's just a little bit more modern, but it's a ADA seat swing that should be included somewhere.
Yeah,
Well,
so I'm saying, can you take the belt swing away from the ADA area and bring one of the dual ones over there and then get rid of the other dual one and put,
Two
2 or
regular
3
swings.
belt swings?
I think so. You could do that. Those tandem swings were those are pretty popular, but they're just so you can have, kind of like that generational, you can have an adult on there with a kid,
Mhm.
but we can certainly,
But can you get 3 belt swings where the 2?
no.
No,
You
if we
can't?
can
Have to
fit
make it
2,
wider.
it would widen it.
I
Yeah.
think minimum, we need 2 regular swings
I do
next to
too.
each other.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes,
So
I
what-
agree.
Okay.
So on this section, what I heard, and you can confirm, is keeping that 0G chair,
Yes,
moving one of the expression tandem swings next to it, and
yes,
having 2 belt swings
yes,
in the other bay.
yes.
On the tot area, we have,
Hot area.
right now, we have 1 bucket swing and 1 tandem swing.
I don't think buckets, well,
Well, the bucket swing you need.
Maybe.
Need a
yeah,
bucket.
oh, yeah, because
need it
it's
with the
the,
little
bucket swing.
Need a
kids.
bucket.
That's
I would
for
go
the
2
little
buckets.
kids.
Need it more with the
So
little
you'd
kids.
rather
than
have
with the
2
big
buckets
kids. They
there?
don't want their
One
parents sitting
over here.
there.
I
with them.
don't know.
we've got an ADA one
So
over
is that the this is an
Yeah.
ADA one, or is
Yeah.
this the 2-person?
No, it's an ADA adaptive seat over there. Yeah,
But wait,
So
the
this
bucket
is again,
swing,
this
you
is, I
lift the
think what
child in.
Scott said was a 2-person.
That child could be
Yeah.
disabled as well as not,
It's the other one that's not, that is ADA.
but maybe we don't need that.
Bucket?
No, maybe you have 2 buckets. Instead of, you
The
don't need
expression
this
swing.
ADA swing if in fact, you can put a disabled person in the bucket swing as well as a,
Is this the,
No,
this,
it's a different
the
kind of
same swing that they
swing.
have at Nealon Park where it's like one side is a seat, hard seat, and the other side is like a little, like a hard panel for someone else to sit or stand on? Is that
It-
like at Nealon Park? Because the Nealon
Here,
Park is
I
also
think
game
that
time,
it's
right?
probably, if we look at the image, it's probably gonna show it.
I don't think
It
the
doesn't have a
renderings,
harness or anything.
That's
Is it
the other
actually
side.
80?
the renderings don't depict what that concept is, unfortunately, on the swing seats.
There's
how
a
can we
bucket
make a
one.
decision?
Oh, there
if
it
we
is.
don't know
There
what
it
we're
is.
looking
No,
at?
There's
That's
a
it right
bucket
there.
one, and what's next to the
Here.
bucket one?
That's,
like a
That's a
bigger
bucket one
bucket
right
one.
there.
it looks like a bucket with just
So
a,
it's a bucket with a tandem seat.
Extra not interested in that.
What's that?
so
no,
it can be treated as a bucket seat.
So,
So it's okay. I'd say just go with it.
Yeah.
So,
It's not.
yeah,
That's a pretty good image.
basically, so
Okay.
Okay,
I've never seen that in a playground.
okay.
One more time?
Not common.
So, okay, so I
we
think
were
we've
innovative.
covered swings.
I'm glad to do bucket seats.
All right,
Yes,
let's go.
I mean, it is still a bucket seat, so just a
Yeah,
fine.
I,
I like what
What's-
we did with the big kid swing.
yes,
I like.
How many ADAs are we
Uh,
ending up with it?
two,
Two, okay.
one in the,
Yeah.
One in each side is an ADA, okay.
okay, so got that. Now we have a little difference of opinion about chimes.
Why don't we deal with the rest of the play equipment in that grouping?
The
We've done
the arch
swings.
swing, well, the merry-go-all, the dual spinners.
Well, I would propose that we go with the Willow. Go with, I hear you on the noise, but I think they get very attractive to the kids. And it may be that the little things that make the noise get lost. I mean,
Okay.
that,
So right now, as Scott mentioned, we have little flower petal things that have the thing to gong it.
Let's just go with those for right now.
We can
If we
either
want to
A,
install-
stick with those, or
The lighter,
we can find a spot.
wait,
for
there
the
are
other.
two things that are here. One is
Yeah.
harmonic chimes and the other is one of these jazz things.
Yeah, so, but already in the design, we have a flower petal,
Those are toddler based though, right?
And the
What do
toddler.
they sound like though? Because the other ones are actual real instruments.
Yeah, when we
This is
look
just
at-
a metal structure. What does it sound like? Because getting back to what she was saying.
it's not
of
going
the
to be as,
sound.
it's not going to be as loud as the
It's
other.
right behind the
It might be
little
more annoying,
dual
though.
thing that we're.
Smaller, so it just.
I think that the harmonic chimes, and I would go with the larger one. I think that's important to
Okay,
have.
so the harmonic chime is the
Bowls.
large
Yeah,
stick.
I know.
Yeah, okay.
and they may have a sweeter
Although-
sound.
I'm okay to go with the smaller one if we also did the jazz minor.
Have bongos.
I think the jazz minor also looks attractive. I think kids are gonna definitely, I mean, in the Magical Bridge, they had both. Right, if you look at, you can't read what these
Where
page
are the
numbers are.
drums? Can you,
Nothing
we look
that's
at what
designed for
all the
read.
musical instruments are? Because we're kind of piecemealing it out. We already have bongos, I just heard. Where are those?
We have the flower
And the
thing
flower.
right
is-
there.
Yeah. And does this have a stick that hangs off it? And
Yeah,
They do this.
so that's what you're calling the bongo or is there
No,
a
that's the
separate
flower.
bongo?
There's bongos on that play structure on the backside.
Okay.
They're pretty common. They're pretty much, they're plastic bongos.
So the chimes and the jazz thing would be this area. Is there
Yeah.
any sound equipment in the big kids area?
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
would be to go in the big kids area.
Yes,
I like
Address.
the big chimes, not so sure smaller chimes.
but do you want the one with a set of 3 or 7? I go with 7. Not that much more money.
I like 7.
Yeah.
It's almost it's like a octave.
And you don't want to do this thing.
No.
Okay.
Okay, did
Right.
did
Okay.
we have that?
So that's going with
So-
the harmonic chimes.
okay.
The $15,000 one,
Yeah,
right?
so we'll add the harmonic chimes. With that, we won't be adding the jazz combo.
Right.
Right.
All right, so shade.
Wait, can I ask one more thing? When do we talk about the bench swing? Was that in swings?
Multi-generational.
Okay,
items.
sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
What
so
we didn't address was the merry-go-all. Are we going to replace the dual?
I think what I heard was stick with the dual. Because the merry-go-all is
I
going to
agree with that.
require
I
more
think
space.
merry-go-round looks
which
much
is gonna
better.
be
I like the
complicated.
I think
merry-go-round
if
better
you
than
could
the dual.
fit it, it's fine.
Take a vote.
But
Okay.
I think if I'm hoping we'll be able to recycle all that play equipment from our existing one. I don't think we'll.
Okay,
I think, well.
Have to
no,
design it out.
I agree
Show
with
us.
Rick. I think merry-go-all was.
But how much money, is anyone keeping track of how much
Yeah, I
money
am.
we're at right
Well,
now?
George is keeping
Well,
track of it.
Yeah, the merry-go-all costs us $10,000 because there's a net. The harmonic, if we go with the big one, is 15, and the willow head is 2. So that's 17, that's
Right.
27 for
Willow
this
Hut is
area.
not two.
The Willow Hut is 2 because it's a net of 12. There's a playhouse. It's replacing a playhouse, right?
Right, right.
Okay.
I don't
mean,
know. I don't see where the Willow Hut is.
Well, we don't have the
Cost.
Willow Hut priced. I
Wait.
think George is
It's not.
pulling it
Yeah.
from that
14.
from
Yeah.
library.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that.
What is it?
I'm pulling the price from the library children's playground cost
Yeah.
estimates, and that's around the $14,000 range.
Okay, and so it's going to be 2,000 net.
That's what Rick is saying, yeah.
Right.
Rick is always right. I need
No, I'm not
to
always
just-
right, but I'm just where the
Okay.
Willow Hut.
Willow Hut.
And can I ask a question before we move to the next one? Scott, will the merry-go-round fit where the sand area is?
I want to say yes. Obviously we'd have to drop it in, but I want to say yes.
Okay, so why don't we vote on taking the sandbox out?
Well, wait, but I thought it was going where the dual.
I thought it was gonna go where the dual is.
You can't, I can tell you for sure, when you look at that, you look at the size of the duo in that circle, there's no room to fit this twice the size 4-person merry-go-all with the fall zone it's gonna have without hitting that curb and into the playground that's there. We can look at it for sure. We haven't, that'll be the first thing we do is look and see if it will fit and what can be kind of
Looks
altered a
like a
little
lot
bit.
of space there.
A lot of cons on having a sandbox, though. People can have a sandbox at home. It's easy to build.
Hey, Scott, when you're looking at the young kids, what do you call the log
Had a good one.
that the kids are standing around?
The log is hold on.
It's a log.
It's a log crawl through, yeah. That's
Okay,
It's
okay,
common,
great.
yeah.
We're keeping that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Shade. Let's do as
Important
much shade as possible.
on anything
Okay.
that's plastic.
Can I ask
Budget
one
on
No
shade.
budget on shade. Do it right, do it good, and protect our little
Can we
hates.
plant
ridiculous.
trees as an alternative in
With
some
no
parts of
budget?
this?
I'm
Because
just-
it's a lot of money for the shades. I love the shades and I agree with as much shade as possible. Can we plant trees?
Well, we have some trees that are existing now.
Can we add
So-
trees?
The problem that you have with a tree is that you're not gonna get shade from that tree for 10 years.
Unless
the
you buy
other-
a mature tree.
So what I would suggest is that if you would like, we can certainly plant a couple outside of the playground. We do have a few that are already in there. And one of the reasons why we flipped the location of the tot versus the older is because right now the older kids area has that natural shade that the tot area doesn't.
Why can't we move some trees like Stanford does all the time from that back part beyond the North Meadow,
So,
the trees?
pointing
And
out-
like I said, Stanford, you see them digging up these redwood trees all the
Okay.
time. They take them and they
Okay.
replant them. I don't know how much that costs,
Yeah,
but
do you know how?
It costs a pretty
do
I'd love
penny.
to
that?
watch it. Just
Oh,
to-
it's, yeah, okay. So what are we doing about shade?
They're
Um,
Need to cover
We
the
will
plastic.
try and integrate more shade. We're just letting you know each device is gonna be rather pricey.
okay. Good.
Like
No.
between 20,000 and 15,000 each?
It says.
Well, 15 to 30, depending on the type.
what
Yeah,
we're
it
proposing,
It says, if you look at it, it says 14 for the 20-foot shade cantilevered and 29 for the integrated shade.
I don't know what an integrated shade is.
That's where we have
I
the
got 11,
overlapping cells. There's a
Oh,
picture.
okay. So it's more than one.
There's a net on the.
it's the 20-foot integrated shade sail, that is on the structure. If you go back to the concept, that's actually gonna go right where that 5-foot, go back on the big structure. Right where that 5-foot platform is, down a little bit on the other side, right to the left, up right there. So it would go there and it would come up and it would be a 20-foot shade sail over that whole thing, going around. Now the two 16-foot shade structures that are there now is being proposed with what you saw to 20-foot, and that's over the benches on the other side.
Well, you need to have it cover that slide where it's coming out. So the two places on the slide that get the hottest and can cause a burn are at the beginning when you first get on it, which now it's covered here, so that's good. And at the end, when you end.
Yeah.
Slow down. So this lower part needs to be covered. In the summertime, that's going to be hot. And little kids are not going to have a good time there. And
Yeah, and so with this 20-foot, if we did the 20-foot over there, over the play structure there, plus 20-foot replacement there, move that over a little bit, you're gonna have a period, depending on where the sun's at, that might shine through, but for the most part, you're gonna get a lot of shade.
well, it depends on how you're going to do it. So first off, the key thing is in the summertime is when you need to have it. So
Yeah.
if you know where the west is,
Okay,
could restructure it so that
understand. I
it's
think,
okay in the wintertime.
I think we've made our point about the shade.
A little
Yeah.
sun is okay. We just don't want things
Yeah,
being all day.
okay.
Morning sun is fine.
So
Afternoon
we're
sun, not
talking about fencing now.
Okay.
all the way around.
So do you want fencing all the way around?
Yes.
Yep.
No,
Okay. I hear that.
I don't think we
You-
want.
And you want the
I
fencing
want
removed in the
fencing for
middle?
The older
Third.
kids area.
What?
Personally, I don't think we want fencing around the older kids area. I think they're right next to the grass. They're gonna be going in and out from the playground structure to the grass. And if there's a fence, they're gonna jump over it or they're gonna run around it. And I don't want to spend an extra $38,000 to put fencing around the older kids' play area. I don't think it's the right call.
I'm with Rick.
I agree.
Okay, so not fencing all the way around. Okay.
Strong feelings about.
Yeah, but it was 3-2.
Okay. Multi-generational. Approximate cost for cornhole set, concrete, chess and checkers table, swing benches,
It's
etc.
a slanted board.
So these would likely be located outside of the play area, across the walkway, kind
in
of
a
near where the
concrete
bathroom
one.
is.
So I can't believe that cornhole sets.
It's
We
a
already
con-
have
it's-
some.
This is
I
a
know that.
concrete.
Okay.
This is
okay.
built out of concrete, so it doesn't deteriorate.
So if somebody falls down and hits
And
their
nobody
head
can
on
take
it.
it.
I wouldn't
Walk
do it.
away.
It doesn't walk away, and
No,
No, forget it.
I want to
I
delete
think
that.
Anthony's cornhole set has already been damaged after like 2 uses, right?
Oh, well, damn stuff.
Artists we have at the park and summer.
Uh-huh.
I think we take that out. The checker table is good. I don't know what a
Yeah.
sway bench is.
Well, so how many tables are we talking about here? Concrete chess and checkers table, is this one?
You
Yes.
gotta
It's gonna
keep
cost
going.
$10,000?
Was it 10 or 5? 5. I think it was 5.
No, well, we've
Wait.
got 10,000, 9,600.
The item on page 255 is made of concrete? Looks like plastic to me.
That's concrete.
That's concrete.
Concrete, okay.
Oh,
Can we just paint the thing on there or drill one on? That price was mind blowing to me.
yeah, the cornhole?
No, the cornhole, my opinion on that is out.
So it's-
Out.
it's-
Me too.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
already
But
said that.
the chess table, I think, is really important, but I was shocked at the price and I'm wondering if there are other vendors that might offer
We,
it.
we
Or
can take a look.
or
Yeah,
if we could just paint it on or like buy
No,
one
we
and
don't want
drill it
painted
on. I don't know,
No,
that seemed crazy.
We'll take a look at another option
$5,000.
for it.
Project.
so are we
Exactly.
talking about the chess, giant chess or
No,
chess
no,
at
no,
a?
the chess
We're
table.
talking about a little
This one
table
right
for
here.
people to sit and
It's a
play
table.
chess at.
I think those are really important.
So
That's
we'll
We
take
multi,
a look
can
at
have
another
that.
vendor.
That's an adult thing that,
that and the swing bench are the two I like.
I
And
can
the
see
what?
why it costs that
Sway
much.
bench.
what's a sway bench?
I don't know.
No, I don't
The
think we
swing
like that.
bench.
No.
It's for
Put it
people
on your
outside to
front
sit
porch.
at.
That's
They've
this.
got these in Tennessee.
Yeah.
On
It's just a
every
swing.
front
It's a swing.
porch.
They're nice.
You got
but
enough
they should be
swings. Get in a
$500.
bucket.
It's an
No.
adult swing. I don't
No.
think we need it.
No,
Nope.
Okay.
I've seen the sway benches at playgrounds. They're popular. They're really, I think this is
Multi-generation.
hideous.
Let's go.
yeah.
So I'm in favor of a sway bench if it is not
Yeah.
wood or something. I'm just wondering, like, is there a cheaper way to get a swing bench?
We can take a look.
It's gotta be.
That's
You can
not-
get
I mean, if you consider it a swing, it's not that expensive compared to what
That's
the
kind
other
of a nice
swings
one.
are.
You
Yeah,
actually
I
remember
think
the
that's
swing in the
Yeah,
park? The
that one I
dames
like.
would do the swing in the park and they would get, the dames did
Yeah,
an
they did a
annual
swing in the
swing in the park. And there was a person that would handcraft a swing that would be donated.
I think that's
Much as
They're
the
not
wood
here
one
anymore.
that's on
Yeah,
the screen.
I think that
Much nicer.
I love it.
I really like these wood
Yeah.
ones.
The wood ones are nice.
How much would that cost? I mean, it's a couple of, 8x8 posts stuck in the ground with a lentil and a,
How
Maybe
come
we-
when I describe something and design it, I get yelled at?
no,
But
you
when
can,
you
you
do
can
it,
yell at me.
it's
I'm
supposed
just,
to be fun.
No, you get to yell at her.
Okay, come on.
okay, I've been
All right, so
officially
we'll
yelled
look at,
at.
we'll look at similar options to that one.
Okay, what's the preschool table?
That is just a smaller, shorter table that could possibly be put in one of the spaces on the smaller side.
Wait, you just went over a chess table right there that looks cheaper than
And nicer.
$5,000.
Yeah, I like that better anyway.
Yeah, that's
I
a pretty
do
good
too.
I'd
one.
go with all natural wood on those if you
Yeah.
can and have it
Okay.
be a whole look in that area.
But then what kind of seat do you have? Is it
He
attached?
had the little.
It's a wooden seat.
Okay, we'll take a look at other options. We hear the desire for a chess table and a swing bench, and we'll figure that out.
Okay.
Those are the only two
No,
I like.
no sandbox.
We talk about
That-
Let's
tables though?
discuss that.
Talked about.
Can we talk about what?
Think about a
I don't,
sandbox.
I'm good with sand.
It was one of the biggest comments we got, wasn't it?
Yeah.
From the public.
There were a lot of residents that wanted the sandbox.
Yeah, I know, but there are all the cons associated with it. It's gonna be a maintenance nightmare.
Do they close
dog
these
park.
days? Do they have versions
That
that
was my
close?
question.
I'm gonna say that at preschools, they are required to cover them.
Yeah.
At a public park, you are not required to cover it.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the
And-
cats that wander in there? But so
what's
they don't
happening
have
now?
a cover?
Wait, but if they
Sand
can
now.
cover them in a preschool, why can't you cover them in a park?
So there's
At
options.
Preschool there, it's number one, it's gonna be
Pool
smaller.
cover.
They have
You put a
somebody
pool
there all
cover
the
on it.
time that is taking care of it.
Yeah.
So,
It's like a box. So you'd have a box with a mesh weighted cover that just flips over. This is not big enough, small enough to just have, you could, but it would be a maintenance nightmare to put that on every day and take it off. And then there's maintenance things that could be done on raking it, on a Friday and Monday, before the weekend, after the weekend. It needs to be raked weekly and then replenishing it every year on a yearly basis. But there are concerns with sand. It's known everywhere, but they are popular. It's just a matter of making that decision.
And this isn't the site that's monitored, like a preschool or somewhere else. So if it was covered, it could just as easily be removed.
Sandbox isn't hard to build. On a sandbox.
so.
Do
as-
they,
as-
do they
as,
build like a
Councilmember DeGolia
hydronic
said, this-
cover?
What's that?
Do they build covers like a pool cover that's a hydraulic cover that just automatically, like a
Um,
pool cover?
Price up.
I don't know, but
curious.
keep in mind that we also have these digger machines.
Yeah, the diggers are so fun. But I think we can.
And
But I
so
love
to
it.
have a cover that covers the sandbox and allows for the diggers is tough.
Put the hut over it.
Oh, do you think we should not do the sand? I mean, you heard all the comments I heard because you've been on the Park and Rec too.
I'm gonna say that we got a lot of feedback in favor of having a sandbox. It wasn't until Magical Bridge came in and they brought up a variety of concerns related to it.
Right.
We've had that sandbox there for however long it's been.
As long as the playground's been there.
Has anyone ever complained? I know that even back when I took my kids there, people would leave diggers for the next family to come along. It was definitely a thing and loved it. So
The outreach was, there were a lot of comments at the
For me,
outreach.
it's going to be a preference thing. Personally, I prefer having a sandbox and a water play from a maintenance perspective. So we can arrange for, I mean, we would take care of replenishing the surface of the sand that as needed. We can arrange for a little bit of maintenance crew time to inspect and rake it out once a week. That's
Yeah,
not
but
really
that
that
doesn't
big a
deal with
deal.
recovery.
But it's been there for years and we haven't had an issue. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, that's something to consider.
I think that same issues that exist for sand exist in tan bark, where other animals do the same stuff in the tan bark, and no one has a problem or requiring covering tan bark. The big difference is that kids can mouse, and I think that's I think sensory play, like the sand is really important. Like people love the sand there, and the stickers are cool. I'm not a like
leave it.
I think
I'm
I'm fine leaving it personally, but I think from my perspective, if we are having space constraints, do all this other stuff, I'm fine having it go. I'm not a strong passionate about it. But I do think that I'm not worried about the environmental risk.
Let's
If
try to
Scott
keep
could-
it then.
Yeah.
If Scott could place the merry-go-round there, and that's the only spot it goes, which would you prefer?
How much is the sand?
Oh, way cheaper.
With the two diggers though.
Well, keep in mind
I
that
think
if
he
you
should,
put-
there's
I think he
ongoing
should work on how to
there, the
include both
surfacing
of them.
cost goes up.
Okay, yeah.
The merry-go-round
Maybe
or
we
whatever it's
take a little
called.
bit more
Merry-go-all, I think it's.
Merry-go-all.
This
Maybe
is
we need to
supposed to
take a
think of-
little bit more, space.
All right, so we could come up with what the ad cost would be to put it, increase the size of the playground.
Yeah.
If
you wanna keep the
necessary, but
sand. Okay.
Where are we on the numbers, Rick? You said you were track. Are we under 300,000?
oh, I don't know what we're doing with the shade, which is the
Okay.
big deal.
Yeah.
Not counting the shade, we're at about 270.
And we haven't talked about
150.
tables yet. We don't have any tables in this.
We're looking at the
Aren't these
preschool
tables
Right, in
tables
this-
and the eighth
Right,
grade
I'm
tables.
asking in
I
this
think
existing
that the
design.
comment that we heard
Those are
before
logs.
was to swap out a couple of the log benches with the
Right.
table.
At least we have 4
Right.
log benches.
Right.
And we may have some redwood log benches to donate, right? Because we have a resident having to take down a ginormous redwood. Cutting it into 8-foot.
Want to make a swing
Yeah.
bench too?
Those are going to be a bear to move.
Well, once you put them in place, you don't have to move them.
No, from the house.
Oh, from the inside of the house?
Somewhere anyways, where are they gonna move them?
Yeah,
So
they're gonna move it. Yeah.
You think they would donate them? We turn it into a table? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
But I
And
think we could,
not counting the shade, which I don't know what that cost is. It's at 170.
170.
If we replace some of the logs with tables, is that a close swap price wise or is that a big?
it'll be
Pretty close. We looked at it, Park and Rec, and it was pretty close.
yeah. Okay.
Are we
How
all
many of
happy
the
with
logs
that?
are we gonna lose? 3?
I think I
Tables?
would replace all of those with tables and bench. There's no backs on those?
It's so people could sit both ways.
Yeah.
There's not a back.
I think they would be
It's
used.
okay.
I think there are, I see those.
I think if you replace 2 of them, you're doing fine.
Yeah.
Somewhere to eat.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's right.
So we'll
Couple of
replace 2 of
tables.
them.
Big on the
with,
People eat
tables.
snacks on a log bench.
Yeah.
I mean, I have.
Uh-huh.
I
too.
sit on the ground and eat snacks. I'm just,
Yeah.
people, if you're
Okay.
staying there a long time.
So
Okay.
just, we're going to replace 2 of those log benches with picnic tables, one of which is going to be ADA compliant.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Okay, no one wants to rethink their fencing. I just,
What happened with the fencing? I went
Let's
all
not
3
go
of them
over
said no
everything
so
we
fast
just
I didn't even get to talk. And
No fencing at all or what, where?
No,
no
no.
fencing around the big kid.
Just fencing around the little kids.
So my son's big enough to climb over a fence, but what's the difference is I can tell him, you have to tell me when you leave the fence or you go roaming freely, and gives me peace of mind where I don't have to track this location at all moments. And he will be in this big side. He's 4, but
He's growing every day.
Most playgrounds that are now have fencing around.
I would just make one point. Our fence, our area, there's a long way you have to run to get to a street. When you run away, you're running into a field, aren't you?
Yeah.
And that's
So
what I
it's-
think.
it's-
we're
That's
doing.
why I think it's very different if you're running and there's a parking lot there or
Like,
there's any
Burgess.
danger anywhere near. You have to run a long way to get to danger.
Okay, I know. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Okay.
But this
Well,
was a
thank you
big.
all- Thank you all for the input.
Yeah.
It's really,
So we are going to call for, I guess, motion to adjourn. And we just had one from.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye, sure.
Aye.